Please come to your mat. Come to your hands and knees for table pose. So, your hands directly under the shoulders, your knees directly under your hips, your toes curled under, your index fingers pretty close to parallel. If your shoulders are feeling tight, then turn your hands slightly open, a little bit more. So just let the heart settle. On your inhale, lift the crown of your head, lift your sitting bones. And exhale and round. And inhale and lift the crown, lift the seat, middle back just softens down. And exhale and round. Two more rounds. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. We're going to settle to neutral. Take your right foot out to the right. We're going to come into eye of the needle. Shift your weight over to your right hand. Take your left arm up. Exhale, slide your left arm under your right. Come down onto your shoulder. And just let your full weight rest into the shoulder or the side of the head. If it works for you, go ahead and take your arm back behind you. Right arm slides back. Right hand slides for outer left hip crease, and maybe you turn to look up. Oh, that feels so good. Not so much about the head as it is the torso. And release, hand to floor. Come back up to table. Slide your left foot out to the left. Take your right arm up. Exhale, slide the right arm under the left. Come down onto your shoulder. Slide your hand back a little bit. And just let yourself settle. Let your body start to acclimate to the twist first before you start to push the envelope a little bit. Take your left arm back behind you if it'll go there. Maybe your fingers kind of reach into the outer hip crease and roll the head of the arm bone back. Pressing the right arm down into the floor. And release the twist. Bring the hand back and come to table. All right, so the two other directions we need to move the spine. Just look over your right shoulder towards your right hip. Lengthen the left side, so press your left hip crease back, bring your left shoulder forward. Inhale back to center. Other way, look over your left shoulder. Lengthen the right side body. Inhale back to center. And exhale. Lengthen the right side as you look over your left shoulder. And come back to center. One more time, other way. Looking over your left shoulder, lengthening the right side body. And come back to center. All right, so we have effectively twisted the body, twisted the spine in all directions. Now we're going to take it to downward facing dog. Lift your knees, press up and back. So start with your knees bent. And just see how that is. See if you can look at your feet and your ankles. Keep your shins and knees equidistant, parallel. Inner thighs are rooting back and up. Maybe shift the weight a little bit from side to side as you lengthen out the side bodies a little bit. So trying to get the spine super long. Lots of space between your fingertips and your sitting bones. And then maybe a little start to reach through the center of each heel toward the floor. Look back at your feet as you're pedaling and just make sure your feet really look like they're rooting kind of down evenly, so the inner and outer edges of the heels are reaching toward the floor at the same rate. So if you've been imbibing in plenty of sugar and holiday cheer, you may be really feeling it in the calves. So a nice reach down, just paddle it out. And at the end of your exhale, lightly step your feet to the top of your mat, Uttanasana. So let your feet be wide, a little wider than your hips, and just let yourself kind of hang for a moment. So clearly, if your hands don't come to the floor, have them up on something to give yourself some support, so you're not overextending the forward fold, causing any distress for your back. A couple of yeses and nos in the head. Then heel toe your feet in to about hip distance width. Let's see how it is there. If your hands, again, if they need to come up, bring them up. Have them on your ankles or your shins. In any case, when you're forward folding, make sure your thigh muscles are engaging to complement your stretch. Heel toe your feet in to touch if that's possible for you. And then again, just resume your forward fold, your Uttanasana. Now as I hug in here and I get that sense of hugging into the midline, I can feel the inner knees, the inner ankles, the inner thighs all pressing into one another, and at the same time it gives me some feedback so that I can engage my glutes and reach my sitting bones down. And then fold in maybe a smidge deeper. Turn your palms to face forward, hug the midline, inhale, sweep your arms out and up, come on up, arms overhead, palms to your heart. Alright, so we're just going to move through some very simple, basic movement, just so that we can kind of get this thing back to just a nice even playing field. So, hug the midline, press your palms into one another, take a big inhale. Exhale, arms release. Open the palms, inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold, hugging the midline, bow. Inhale, slide the heart forward, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Open the palms, reach out, hug the midline, arms up and overhead. Palms together, hands to the heart. Exhale, release it, open the palms. Inhale, sweep it up. Exhale, forward fold. Hug, 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 hug the midline. Sitting bones reach down. Inhale, lengthen the heart forward. Exhale and fold. One more time, open the palms, hug the midline. Inhale, reach out, up and overhead. Palms together, hands to the heart. Exhale, release the arms. Open the palms, inhale, sweep up. Take a hold of your right wrist, pull up and crescent over to your left. So just breathe here and try to keep the heart open, the tailbone descending. Kick the right hip out a little bit more. Inhale to center. Take a hold of your left wrist, pull up, and crescent over to the right. So just be mindful. Are you turning your heart toward the floor, or can you keep the heart a little bit more forward? Kick your left hip out. Nice pull on the wrist. Big, deep side stretch. And then inhale back to center. Take the arms apart. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale and fold in. This time bend the knees, slide the hands back, step back, downward facing dog. Shift forward to plank pose. Settle the heart. We'll come down to the floor any way you like. You can set your knees down for Ashtangasana, knees, chest, and chin. Or you can lower all the way through your push-up to your belly. Or you set the knees down, pick up the feet. Lower your hips a little bit, and then lower your torso at the same rate as your heart. Bring the toes to the floor. We'll come to Sphinx. Elbows under the shoulders. So just easing. Nice, easygoing practice. Press the forearms into the floor, hug the forearms back, slide your heart forward. Do a little bit of snaky movement. And then come on down. We'll take the hands alongside of the body with the back of the hands on the floor, the palms turned up. Press the tops of your feet into the floor, root your tailbone back, bring the shoulders forward. Press the hands down, lift the heads of the arm bones, extend energy through the crown and through your tail. So relax your jaw, let your breath be soft. And then lower down. Just take your hands right away into a clasp behind you. If you need to take a strap, feel free to take a strap between your hands at your shoulder distance. And then with your hands clasped or on the strap, slide the heads of the arm bones forward and roll up. So heart reaches forward, hands begin to reach back. Oh yes, back bending. My body remembers this. It remembers it. Not that it's all that happy to do it, but it remembers it. Oh. And then lower down. Hands alongside the chest, roll the heads of the arm bones up. Curl your toes under. If you like, press through your plank to downward dog, or you just come up on hands and knees. So whatever works best for you. And back to your downward dog. Alright, so a twist in your downward facing dog. Keep your left hand where it is. Take your right hand, reach for your outer left ankle or shin, and then press your hand forward and your shin back as you lengthen the whole left side body. Then release it. Left hand to the floor. Take your right hand outside of your left ankle or shin. Press your left hand forward. Press your right hip back. Sorry, left hand forward, left hip back. And release hands to the floor. Lift your right leg up behind you. So you can also just walk your left foot in toward the midline a little bit if you'd like with the right leg. Bend the knee and open up through the hip. So try to keep the shoulders evenly lifted. It's really easy to let yourself kind of collapse into this as you try to turn open, but it's not necessarily the best thing for your back either. So you want to keep your standing leg steadfast, rooting your left hip crease back as you open the right hip. Shoulders are lifted and strong, so you won't overdo it. Don't overtax it. Oh, and just so good to straighten the legs, spread the toes, circle the ankle. And then bend the knee again, bring the foot forward, and set it down for a lunge. So finding just your lunge, just move your hips a little bit, up and down. Spin your back heel down to the floor. Bring your right hand inside of your right foot. Take your left arm up for a twist, looking over to your left. And as you do that, your outer right hip crease is rooting back. Take your left arm back behind you if you can. Come up. See if you can tuck your fingertips into your opposite hip crease. Roll the shoulders back and come back into it. Now roll the head of the left arm bone again up toward the ear and open up into your twist. The fingertips in the hip crease, if they go there, can press the right hip crease back as you roll the left shoulder open. Good. Re-extend your left arm up. Bring it down to the floor. Pick up your back heel. Shift your weight to your left hand. Take your right arm up. So be mindful of what's happening with this arm. The tendency is for all of this to start to internally rotate, which isn't going to serve you well in the long run, maybe in the short run. So you want to make sure that you've got this open, right? And if you're not sure, you can always turn your hands slightly open. Arm up. Take your left arm behind you and slide your hand. Sorry, that would be your right. Your right arm behind you. Slide your hand towards your outer left hip. Roll the shoulders open. Sit a little deeper in the pose. Good. Take your right arm back up. Set it down on the floor, step to plank. Lower yourself through a vinyasa. So you can come down slow motion. To chaturanga, roll through. Come to an upward dog if it works for you, or you go lower. Just a nice low cobra. Elbows in close to the sides of the rib cage. Lowering down. Heads of the arm bones lift. Hug the sides of your rib cage with your elbows, and then press your arms straight through plank to downward dog. Sliding your right foot to the middle, lift your left leg. Bend your knee and open up through your hip. So again, right shoulder stays lifted and steadfast. Right hip crease roots back. And then the left hip opens. Spreading the toes. I'm pressing my right hand down and forward so much so that it really feels good to open up through my left thigh. There's a lot of stability created in the foundation. Straighten the legs, spread the toes, circle the ankle or the foot. Oh yeah. Then bend the knee, bring the foot forward, set yourself into your lunge. So just a little inhaling, lift up a little bit. Start to come out of your lunge and exhale, sit back into it. So just lubing the joints a little bit. And then spinning the back heel down. Bring your left hand inside of your left foot. So arm presses into the inner knee. Take your right arm up, twist open. Using the feedback of the arm against the inner knee. And then maybe the right arm comes back behind you. You could come up. Slide the fingertips on top of the thigh or into the hip crease. And then come back down to the floor. Roll the head of your arm bone back. Oh, yeah. Your right hand is hugging your hip crease back on the left side. And release, take the arm up. Spin it down to the floor. Pick up the back heel and shift your weight over to your right hand. Take your left arm up. So just as aware here about what's going on in your supporting right arm so you're not internally rotating, right? This is externally rotated here. But you're still pressing down through the mound of your index finger to get the internal rotation on the forearm. Take the top arm back. Slide the back of your hand towards your outer hip and roll the head of your left arm bone back. And take the arm back up. Exhale, bring it to the floor. Step to plank. Take a vinyasa. And back to downward dog. End of your exhale, you can either hop or step lightly to the top of your mat. Forward fold. Inhale, slide your heart forward. Exhale and fold. Open the palms. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up and overhead. Hands come together, slide to the heart. Good, so a couple more. Hug the midline. Press the palms into one another. And just see how you feel after just doing this much movement. Oh, it's such a gift, isn't it? Don't you feel that? It's incredible. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhale, arms release. Open the palms, inhale, sweep up. Exhale, forward fold. I'm starting to feel like myself again. I really didn't recognize the body I woke up in. Now bend your knees a little bit. We're going to take your right ankle and cross it over your left. Edges of the feet touch. Lengthen forward through the heart and exhale, fold in over the legs. So try to square your hips up here, avoiding any hyperextending of the knees, so maybe a slight bend, especially in the back knee. inner and outer edges of the feet touching. Walk your hands maybe forward and over to the right without changing the hips. Try to still keep them very square, bowing towards your legs. And inhale, come back to center. Cross the other way. So left over right. Lengthen forward, exhale, fold over the legs. And then inhale, lift, walk your hands over to your left, keeping your hips square, and exhaling, folding in. Inhale, lift, walk your hands back to center, unravel the feet. Lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands, step to downward dog. Lift your right leg up behind you. Bend the knee, open up through the hip again. Oh yeah, pressing down through your opposite heel. Exhale, bring your right foot forward into a lunge. And this time find your stance and come on up to crescent lunge or this variation of warrior one, however you want to think of it. So getting nice and vertical in the torso, pelvis nice and vertical, sitting a little deeper, bringing the front thigh to parallel, making sure your front knee is over the ankle and the inner edge of your left leg is lifted. Arms up and overhead. Take a hold of your left wrist, pull up and crescent over to the right. Sit a little deeper in the pose and just notice how that affects your left thigh. Inhale up, bring your hands to prayer, and we'll come to prayer twist. So taking your left elbow outside of the right knee, find your stance, and twist. And release. Hands to the floor, step to plank, take yourself through a vinyasa. And once you're back to downward dog, lift your left leg. Bend the knee, open the hip. Pressing down through your standing heel. Stabilizing your sacrum. And next exhale, bring your left foot forward into a lunge. Find your stance for crescent lunge. Come on up, take the arms up and overhead. So hug the midline and just find that stability, that upward lift in the pelvis. Take a hold of your right wrist, pull up and crescent to the left. Balance can be challenging. Tailbone still roots. Maybe the heart lifts just a little bit more. And come on up. We'll bring the hands to prayer and come into prayer twist. So take your right elbow outside of your left knee. Hug the midline and start your twist. Slide your heart towards your thumbs. So hug the midline. And looking down, hands to the floor, step to plank. Take a vinyasa. End of your exhale, come to your fingertips. Bend your knees and hop forward. Uttanasana. Starting to feel a little bit better. Turn the palms forward, hug them in line, and inhale. Sweep your arms out, up, and overhead. Palms together, hands to your heart.